Welcome back to the WDS Originals YouTube channel. My name is Jason, and in today's video we're going to be talking E92 M3s. Now, considering the sheer amount of these cars that I've owned over the last 10 years and also heavily modified, such as this V10 swapped E92 M3, I'd like to consider myself a little bit of an expert on this topic. Now, that is not meant in an arrogant way, and I am going to show you the highs and the lows to owning E92 M3s, and also discuss a car that I've recently purchased, the UK's cheapest E92 M3. First up, let's discuss some common issues with this S65 V8. Rod bearings. Let's talk rod bearings. This is something that is a bit of a horror story if you read online, whether it's the S65 engine or any M car engine for that matter. Why is that the case? That's because of the oil that this car runs and also the owners. So these cars run 10W60, which is quite a thick oil. And if you're an owner that gets in your car and drives the living hell out of it whilst it's cold, that's how you're going to kill your rod bearings. So it's important that these cars are warmed up and looked after. Now, obviously, when you're buying one of these, you don't know its previous history. You obviously can check service history, but you can't tell how that particular person drove this car. And for that reason and that reason alone, I personally do not care whether these cars have had rod bearings or not in the previous ownership. I will always put a set of bearings in those engines myself. That is so that I have the peace of mind knowing that those bearings are brand new and I am the one that is going to drive it gently and carefully whilst it's cold, and then once it's warmed up, I'll drive the living hell out of it. Now, continuing on that topic of rod bearings, if you do these bearings yourself, you can also check the tolerances. That way you know that everything is within spec and these engines are good to carry on. If you buy one that's had them done previously and you don't know what the tolerances were or they were never checked, that could cause the engine to fail a little bit later down the line. So again, I would always rather buy one that's not had rod bearings done and do them myself. Now, I appreciate that everyone at home watching this video may not be like myself and be willing to work on these cars, but you can certainly put these cars into a garage that's got a good reputation for doing rod bearings and have them done yourself. That job will generally cost anywhere between £1,500 and £2,000. That is a great negotiating tool when you're buying the cheapest M3 in the country. The next point of failure or negotiating tool, depending how you're viewing this, is throttle actuators. Personally, I'm not too stressed by these as they're not something that's detrimental and won't cause that engine to blow up. If they fail, you'll get an engine management light and potentially limp mode, and absolute worst case, you may break down at the side of the road, but it's a repairable item. They cost about £800 each, and there's 2 of them on this engine. Generally speaking, if you replace these, you get a lifetime warranty on your new parts. So again, me personally, I'm not too bothered, and I like to use it as a negotiating tool to buy the cheapest one in the country. Next up on the list, and in my opinion, the biggest and most important, more important than rod bearings, is injectors. Now, these injectors are notoriously known for failing and often getting stuck open. If they get stuck open, you'll obviously have too much fuel in the cylinder and, put bluntly, you'll absolutely detonate this engine. So, to me, injectors and rod bearings are the 2 important things. Now, one of the next things to look out for is actually underneath the rear of this car, and it is the rear subframe. Now, this will be very hard to see on this camera, but the rear subframes on these cars are notorious for corroding. And when they corrode, they can obviously crack, which can in turn cause you some pretty major issues. Now, other than what we've just touched on, there's not a whole host of things that tend to go wrong with E92 M3s. You get the normal bodywork bits, like the rear faded lights, and the delacquering of the carbon roof, which will cost you about £1,000 to have fixed. Obviously, do your own due diligence and make sure things like tyres, brakes and everything else are all in good condition. Make sure there's no general oil leaks and it doesn't use any fluids. These cars are incredibly rewarding to drive and they are generally pretty strong. So with that all now said and done, let's jump inside the E92 M3 and discuss exactly what we paid for it and give you a little bit more details about this car. So I paid £12,500 for this E92 M3. It's a manual and done 128,000 miles with fox red interior. And as you can see, the rear seats don't even look like they've been sat in. It's actually quite a nice specification with things like EDC, heated seats, and various other goodies like the keyless start. As you can see on the dash, the service light is currently illuminated as it's due a service. Here you'll see it's done 128,000 miles, but no warning lights, and this thing drives really, really well. Now, the reason this thing probably drives so well is the amount of paperwork that came with this car. This thing's got full service history and was actually serviced with BMW main dealer all the way up until 120,000 miles. So this thing has been well cared for and also has low owners. To me, that is far more important than a 60,000 mile car that's never been serviced. So we're going to take this up the road and show you exactly what M3 life is about. Now personally, I do prefer a DCT E92 M3, but this one is a manual. A manual is incredibly rewarding to drive. We'll obviously let it warm up a little bit first before giving it a hard time. As I say, that is incredibly important. Now once these things are warmed up, they live for the high RPM. I think that'll do for it. Now, given that I've actually sold this M3 to a good friend of mine, I feel like it's only appropriate that I look after it. So here's a few clips of some of my old M3s that I didn't drive quite so carefully. Clips that you're currently seeing of the blue car covered in stickers across Europe were part of a charity event that both myself and Harrison took part in, and obviously all of this is filmed on either private land or closed roads, so please don't think we're idiots. I later went on to sell Harrison this car, hence why he's having some fun. And the reason I was happy to let Harrison abuse this car on that trip, even though he now technically owned it, was because I had done all the previous work after buying this car myself and also abusing it on track. Now, there was one particular thing about this car that I absolutely adored, which was the carbon intake. Just listen to this. And once you've had that carbon plenum, you can't be without it. Hence why every single E92 I've ever owned since has always had a carbon plenum. The only exception is my V10 swapped E92 M3. This has E-Venturi intakes rather than the full carbon plenum. And there's one big reason for that, and it's simply due to the cost of the parts. M-tax is real, you've probably heard of that saying before, but anything related to an M car will cost you a premium. Whether that's the standard parts, or if you're looking at upgrading these cars, whether that be a big brake kit or coilovers, whatever it is you want to add, it's going to cost you some pennies. So I would just say, if you are in the market for an E92 M3, do budget for whatever upgrades and also maintenance you need to do. Having said that, if you can justify the costs, I personally believe that these cars are one of the best cars you can buy for the money, and sub 25 grand will get you a very nice example and give you the budget to do the bits you need to do. And for 25 grand, personally, I don't think there's a better car out there. That normally aspirated V8 that absolutely sings and is available as both a manual and a DCT gives everyone an option for one of these cars. Not only that, but if you don't want a 92 coupe, you could get the 90 4-door, which gives you the practicality as well. So me personally, genuinely believe that this is one of the best cars for the money. Couple that with the fact that BMW have never made a V8 M3 since, and probably never will, I believe these cars are never going to fall any further in value. So, would I say they're a good investment? Personally, I believe so. I don't think you can go too far wrong buying an E90 or an E92 M3. So that pretty much concludes today's video, and I just want to thank you guys for watching and making it this far. If you do want to check out our builds like the V10 swapped E92 M3, head over to the channel and be sure to subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon.